question of what happens in Iraq, the stability after the withdrawal of American forces. The large question in the region is what are Iran's ambitions? Are they nuclear? Are they hegemonic? Can Iran find a way to live with the region? Can the region find a way to live with Iran? In dealing with Iran, do issues such as sanctions and diplomatic leverage work? Have we exhausted diplomacy? And what about the possibility of the use of force? A fourth issue in this region is what do you do about problematic non-state actors, Hezbollah and Hamas, for example, who not only have the capability of disrupting stability of the status quo, but have been the primary actors in almost all of the conflicts to take place in this region between Israel and Arabs since 1973. What do you do with this peace process that appears stalled? We're going to talk to you today about some of the substantive issues in that process, but there are also the politics of making this process attractive to the audiences in the Middle East, to the peoples most affected by the absence of peace. And what about the big power relationships involved? The United States is now a superpower turning to the Pacific, with greater interest being manifest every day as China's power is rising. Our relations with Russia, which we thought were reset, may be in the process of another resetting. How do those big power relationships both affect what we do in the Middle East, and how does the Middle East impact on the way in which these big powers see their interests play out? We saw recently with respect to Russia and China, and we're going to discuss it tomorrow in some detail, the impact of an effort by the international community to bring about enhanced sanctions, only to see those sanctions vetoed by the Russians and the Chinese. The dilemmas for the United States and the constraints in this context of regional challenges are quite significant. First of all, as we know, we have an overloaded domestic agenda. Had we had no foreign policy problems at all, we would still have a president engaged full-time, overtime, with the domestic social, economic, infrastructure, and other challenges. You add on top of that these significant foreign policy challenges just in the Middle East, and you can see where the competition for the policymakers' time becomes a very important question. And we are in the middle now of a presidential election campaign. Things don't stop when presidents stand for re-election, and they certainly don't stop domestically, and they don't stop in the Middle East or elsewhere. And it becomes a dilemma of how you balance off the need to deal with these problems and these issues while you're also dealing with constituencies that have black and white views on these issues, not gray. And most policy areas, as you know from our discussions here on a range of subjects, fall into the gray area. What do you do about growing bipartisanship in this country over foreign policy? In a book that I co-authored a couple of years ago, we suggested that in an earlier period, just 20 years ago, Congress very often would give the president a great deal of latitude to play out his ambitions in the Middle East if Congress thought that the president's policy made sense. Congress doesn't do that anymore if the president is from a different party. And the partisanship that has affected all of our politics has now carried over into the foreign policy area as well. And finally, in this question of U.S. dilemmas and capabilities, is the question of whether the United States is a shrinking power. We would all like to believe that that's not the case, but there is a debate among the political cognoscenti in this country as to whether or not we have the capability and the will to do what we used to do, which is to determine largely what are in our interests and to pursue those interests aggressively. These issues, these challenges, these complex of constraints and possibilities play themselves out fully with respect to the Middle East peace crisis, the Arab-Israeli conflict. Israelis and Palestinians remain headed in an opposite direction. This is not a period in which it's been easy even to bring the two sides to the negotiating table. President Obama has tried since coming into office at the beginning of 2009, and only episodically has been able to bring the two sides even sit together, let alone to bring substance to the table.